All right, this is the follow-up video to our original video on how to create a navigation bar in Replo for desktop, which you'll see is built out up here, and we have each of these menu items linked to different sections of this landing page. So when we go to mobile, we'll notice that this menu is not yet responsive. It's sort of formatted the same way it was in desktop, and it's not going to be functional or readable. So the easiest way to optimize this for mobile is to actually select the entire navigation bar and duplicate it. So what we're doing is creating two separate experiences, one for desktop, which we're going to hide on mobile, and one for mobile, which I'm going to just rename here for ease of organization. And we also want to make sure that this mobile experience is hidden on both tablet and desktop. Okay, now that we have this individual mobile menu, we're going to want to edit it so that it's actually readable. So we know that container 69 is the container in which the logo is housed. So I'm just going to take this one and separate it out from the nav menu right now, because there's not enough space to have all 5 of these columns horizontally organized on mobile where there was on desktop. So we select the container with the menu items again, and we'll notice that there's still 5 columns here. We don't need 5 columns anymore because we removed the logo, so we'll change that to 4. So better spacing, still having issues with the text, obviously. So what we want to do is wrap content for each of the buttons. So this will just fix that weird letter stacking issue. Make sure that the width is wrapping content. And now you'll also notice that the shape of the buttons themselves, there's a lot of padding on either side of the button text. And we can see this when we go down to spacing. So we don't need 32 pixels of padding. It's pushing elements off the page. I'm going to go instead with 8 and see how that spaces things out. Okay, that's definitely better. And then we don't need 20 pixels of padding above and below either. Let's try 8 for right now. And we can, of course, adjust this later. I'm going to go to each button and adjust the padding accordingly. Or if you watched our last video, you'll know that we actually don't have to go through and change every individual element on each button. What we can do is we can select the button component, we can right click, we can go to styles, copy styles, and then paste it onto each button. So what this will do will apply the same spacing that I just set for the other buttons to every other button. Saves a little bit of time. Okay, so this is better spaced now, but the text itself is still too wide. So we'll go to each individual button, make sure to select the button text element, not the button itself, so we can edit here. And we're going to need to stack the text here. It's not going to be practical to have it all horizontally aligned because it just gets cut off. The easiest way to do this is just separate each button's text onto 2 lines, which we can do over in the text box editor here. Okay, so this is readable now. That's good. Okay. And when we we go back to our logo container, obviously we want to change the background color so that the logo is actually visible. And the alignment's a little bit off here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just expose the menu that we previously created for mobile, and we just want to reference this. Again, you're not going to have a reference when you first build your menu, but this will be an easy way to show you how to best align things so that it looks correct. So logo is looking a little bit different. This is mostly a size thing. Unfortunately, this logo is very left aligned within its image box, and that's just a function of how the image was created. But what we can do is reduce the size. I think that I also want to add some padding above because we don't want the logo butting up against the very top of the screen. So let's start with 1% and see if we need to add. I think we do. Yeah, let's stick with 3%. And you'll see in our already created menu, we have this little white divider line. Easy way to do this is to select this logo, top logo container. Go to border, where it says none, select solid. We'll change it to white. And instead of a full all sides border, we just want it on the bottom. Okay, that looks better. But we should add some spacing between the border and the logo. Okay, probably don't need quite that much. Again, we always want to optimize spacing above the hero section as much as possible. Let's see what we did here to align this. Maybe wrap content. Oops, nope, that is not the solution. Okay. Okay. So what we did, oops, sorry for the crash. What we did was we actually added some margin space just to move this sort of misaligned logo over. So again, you can do this manually. That looks about right. Or you can do it by percentage if you'd like to be a little more precise. I'm going to add just a bit more padding underneath the logo there. And then the final thing that I'm seeing is this text is a little bit larger than it needs to be. It's kind of crowding the navigation bar here. So I'm going to reduce the text size from 16 to 14. We sort of have an internal rule at BBG that we don't like to reduce text size less than 14 pixels, unless it's like disclaimer text or something very small. In this case, I think it's still readable, so it should be fine. But readability is, of course, king in context of landing pages like this. Okay, and then finally, it looks like we have a little bit of padding around this container itself. So let's see if we can replicate that. Okay, and then you can play with the line spacing of the text, anything else to adjust alignment here. But what we do have now, I'll go ahead and hide our completed one, is a navigation bar that should be fully functional. So I can double check by selecting each button that the interaction to scroll to the certain URL hash marks that they're set up with did in fact copy over from the desktop version of this menu. So this should already be functional, which is great. Let's go to preview to test that out. So we have what's included. Okay. Okay, and it looks like we are linking to the correct sections of the page. So this is now functional on both mobile and desktop. Let's just go over to desktop to make sure that we hid all of the mobile menu edits that we made, and you can see when we're in desktop, this mobile version is hidden, and when we are in mobile, desktop version is hidden. Again, you just adjust this over in the visibility bar here. Okay, so that is how to make a navigation bar responsive for mobile in Replo. I hope this is helpful. Thanks.